Hello everybody, Road Warrior 627 here, and welcome back to another thoroughbred racing preview on my channel. Today we're going to be discussing two big races at Saratoga on August 29th, Saturday. We've got the Forego Stakes for older sprinters, 7 furlongs on the dirt. It's a grade 1. That's race number 8, and race number 9 is the Sword Dancer Invitational for older horses going a mile and a half on the grass. 3 turns over the inner turf course. These two races came up pretty competitive, so I'm very excited to talk about them. This is my first video since I did one 2 weeks ago on the Saratoga Derby and the Alabama Stakes. I didn't do one last week, which kind of pissed me off because I would have done a video on the 4-star Dave, and I wound up picking the winner, Holiday, who was the horse I was big on because I figured he would lope along on the lead and hold on. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm very pissed off I didn't do a video, but considering we have that opinion, as well as I gave out 2 long shots 2 weeks ago, I'm not doing too bad, as I usually make a fool out of myself on this show. Lately I've been okay, so hopefully things continue and I don't get ridiculed, as I rightfully have in the past, by my friends especially. So let's dive into the Forego, and you can't start talking about the Forego, which is at 5:07 Eastern Daylight Time on Saturday. You can't start talking about it without talking about the Vanderbilt, which was back on July 25th. It was a 4-horse field, but it was a very eventful race that, to be honest, we didn't get many answers from because Volatile was able to walk right along on the lead. It was pretty ridiculous, and the other 3 horses in there actually ran pretty good races, and they're all back in here. Who do I like the most out of all of them? Well, if you know me, you know I'm going to say Firenze Fire. And you might think, Road Warrior, you're really, really stupid. This horse finished last. He did finish last. He also covered 17 feet more than the winner, and he covered 20 more feet more than Whitmore, who's the lukewarm favorite in this race. There's only one concern I have with Firenze Fire, and that is the jockey change. Junior Alvarado, who's awesome, is going to ride him on Saturday. But Irad, who's his normal rider, chose to jump off Firenze Fire and get on Chad Brown's longer horse, Fortin Hill, the outsider, number 11. I'm a little bit concerned with that Irad chooses Fortin Hill over a horse that, to be honest, is way more accomplished. I'm very surprised by that. So he obviously sees something in the 11. The next horse we'll talk about is number 2, Whitmore. Doesn't have a great post at 7 furlongs in this race. What can you say? He's awesome. He's an old hard trier. I really appreciate horses like that. But as the lukewarm favorite in this race, I'm going to try to look elsewhere, but I would definitely include him in the mix, whether you're playing vertical or horizontal tickets. And here's the good old mind control, who always seems to run better than he's supposed to. Ran pretty much the same race as Firenze Fire last time. We know he's fine at Saratoga. He also covered a lot more ground than the winner, as well as Whitmore. So I have to give him a special mention in this race. The reason I'm going to take Firenze Fire over him is simply because I expect Firenze Fire to be a much better price, and I feel like you're kind of getting the same horse. So I'm going to go with Firenze Fire on top over Mind Control, Whitmore in 3rd, and then I'm going to use Fortin Hill, the horse that Irad chose, over Firenze Fire in 4th, just as a little angle there. So the selections are 8, 10, 2, 11 in the Forego. Okay, so you might notice that I left 2 very important players in this race out, and those would be number 4, Funny Guy at 9-2, and number 6, Complexity for Chad Brown at 4-1. The reason I left them out is I'm not totally convinced that they could step up to stiffer competition. Complexity's had the chance in the past and hasn't performed. Funny Guy, we really don't know yet. The richest race he ever ran in was the Albany last year, when he actually won the race. But I just don't totally trust them, and I feel like the value is not there when they're running against such established sprinters as Firenze Fire, Whitmore, and Mind Control. You might say that this is a little bit of a top-heavy race, as I really didn't see any other options besides the ones I've talked about so far. These 6 of the 11, to me, are the win candidates of the field. I'd be a little surprised if Complexity or Funny Guy or even Fortin Hill won. If I was playing a multi-race bet, I would use the established Firenze Fire, Whitmore, or Mind Control. Now moving on to the 9th race, the Sword Dancer Invitational. This race came up in absolute war. I can't even really make a definitive on top selection in here. It's very confusing. Instead, I'm just going to run through the field quickly. I don't see that much to recommend with the number 1 Highland Sky for Barclay Tagg. He's just in a little bit too deep. Aquaphobia number 2 is interesting. He ran down my boy Perret at Monmouth. As you know, Perret was the biggest score I had this year at Belmont, 38-1 on June 4th. And I got kind of pissed off. Even though I didn't bet the United Nations, I still wanted Perret to win. But Aquaphobia ran him down. He had a nice stalking trip. Perret set an easy pace, and Aquaphobia earned it. He was right off that slow pace, and he had a nice trip. Maker's got 3 of them, including Aquaphobia. The longest price is number 3, Marzo, who just seems he's a little bit below the top here. I wouldn't totally trust him. I don't see much to like. My boy, my other boy, if you want to talk about Perret, is number 4, Channel Maker. Channel Maker also interesting. He was arguably best in the Manhattan as he ran way further than the rest of the field. And he ran well in the Bowling Green last time out. He got put up to 3rd as Sadler's Joy was rightly disqualified. Now, Channel Maker has run well in New York in the past, and has run well, especially at 1.5 miles in the past, including over the Saratoga Inner Turf. I don't think he has a win up here, but he always earns a check and does a nice job. So here's the thing with Channel Maker. I've been giving him so many chances, and I usually always definitively say I'm going to pick him on top. I picked him on top in the Manhattan when he was 23-1. He ran arguably best, and he ran 4th. I picked him last time in the Bowling Green. I don't know if I can trust him anymore. He just doesn't seem to get there. If you put a gun to my head, I'd probably pick him on top in this race. Can I recommend him from a win bet standpoint? No, I can't. Number 5 is Corelli for Jonathan Thomas, who finally got a Saratoga win recently after he was 0-for on the meet. He finally got off the duck. Corelli ran well in the UN, just behind Aquaphobia, and he closed to finish 3rd. He couldn't get to Perret, but he ran an okay race. And this horse kind of intrigues me, as his last race was pretty good, and he's been fairly consistent with those with the 2 starts in the U.S. In fact, he's run in both races that Perret was in, and he closed a little bit into a slow pace in the Tiller, which that was the race Perret won at 38-1, and he got within 3.25 of Perret at the end of the race. So it actually closed fairly well. This would be his 3rd start in America. The workouts have been okay, kind of on and off a little bit. It's tough to say, but has been at Saratoga. Actually got a sharp workout over the dirt, and then a slower workout to prepare him for this Sword Dancer. Number 6 is Cross Border, who's Dave Portnoy's horse of Barstool Sports. Been doing everything right. He's been kind of getting a little lucky. The prime power numbers for Brisnet are interesting, and I didn't bring this up for the Forego in the last race, where Firenze Fire is a very close second in the prime power numbers. Well, in this race, we've got Cross Border just about a little less than 3 points behind the well-established old trying veteran Sadler's Joy in the prime power department. These figures, while I don't lean on them that much, they often do give a pretty good indication of who's the classiest horse in the race, not as far as competition, but just as far as their overall ability. So I definitely would use him. I feel like he's a little bit dressed up, and the fact that he's 3-1 in here, he's certainly not win bettable, but you have to use him in the horizontals and the verticals in my opinion. Number 7 to me is the really, really interesting horse, and that's Pedro Cara. You might remember Pedro Cara from the Jockey Club Derby last year, where he just got nosed out by the favorite Spanish Mission at Belmont Park. I was there for that race, and I was just as surprised as everybody else. I shouldn't have been surprised because there were so many foreigners in the building that day that I should have expected the foreigners to run 1, 2, 3 just as they did. I think the triple paid $109 and I didn't have it. So that was really stupid of me. Now Graham Motion gets this horse and Velasquez hops on. Velasquez just isn't going to hop on anybody. Been working out at Fair Hill. Horse Paradise. 10 to 1. This, to me, is the bet if you're going to take somebody to win. Obviously, he hasn't disgraced himself overseas. He's coming off a bit of a layoff. I'm not really worried about that with Graham Motion. I really don't care. He's 20. Graham Motion's 20%. He's even got a positive ROI with the long layoffs. This horse, to me, is the really, really good bet in here. Not that he's got a great chance to win, but I think the bang for your buck, as we like to say, the value, is there. And number 8, finally, is Sadler's Joy. What can you say about Sadler's Joy? He always seems to show up. He always seems to get a check. And he runs nice. He got up last time, but he was rightfully disqualified. I don't have much to say other than that. The best Sadler's Joy will easily beat all these horses. I just don't think he's the same. I think he's certainly better at 3 turns than 2 turns. So if you want to bet him now, now's a chance. But is he win bettable? Absolutely not. I believe at 5 to 2, he is the lukewarm favorite in here. So what do I do in this race? I'm telling you full disclosure, I'm not betting. I bet Saratoga one day this meet when I was at Monmouth. That was it. And I walked away a winner, so you can't mess with success. I'm in college. I'm in no position to lose a lot of money. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the win candidates, and be ready for this. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could only throw out 2 horses, Highland Sky and Marzo, for the win. And normally I don't approach a race like this. I just kind of circle who I like and move on. This race, I had to dive deep into the field because I seriously thought almost anybody could win. So where do I get the value in here? Because I don't really care about trying to come up with somebody who's going to win at a short price. I want the value. So who would I throw out? I threw out Aquaphobia as far as my ideas for bets in here, just because I kind of feel like last time was the time to have him. And is he really going to run back to that race? I also got rid of Corelli because he kind of ran the same race in the UN. I'm interested, very similarly to the Forego, in kind of the old hard tryers, Channel Maker and Sadler's Joy. And then 2 more fresher faces, Cross Border and Pedro Cara. Those are the 4 that I would key in on. 4, 6, 7, 8. If I was to make a bet in here, my first bet would be those 4 horses in a super box. I think it has the potential to pay really well, as Aquaphobia is going to take money. Corelli's going to take a little bit of money. Not much anybody else. Everybody that I include is fairly logical except for Pedro Cara. Now, like I said, Channel Maker, if you had a gun to my head, I'd probably pick him just because I've been in love with this horse for a long time. He's just can't find the winner's circle. He's not there. He's not all the way there. I would bet Pedro Cara to win in this race if I were you. That's the best chance, best bang for your buck. You're taking an outsider against a group of horses that are nice, but they're not killers. None of these horses are killers. None of these horses can probably win the Breeders' Cup Turf. I'd be very surprised. So I would take the fresher face in here as the win bet. That's pretty much all I have for these 2 races. I did not have any guests today. I'm making this video in a complete rush as my AC went out We have a Freon leak, it looks like. I'm going to have some guys work on that, so I had to get this done quickly. They might be messing around with the power. Couldn't have any guests today. I'm very sorry. However, next week, of course, is Derby week. We are going to have some guests, maybe as many as 4. I know Sammy's going to be here. Dennis will probably be here. I'd like to see if Jack Sargent of the Racing Rundown podcast wants to come back. And then Nathan, otherwise known as Sketchy the Horse Guy, if he wants to come on too. We'll be having a video for the Kentucky Derby. And I also want to do a preview for the Woodward Handicap as well. That I'm planning probably on having 2 separate videos because I want to keep the ideas separate. I don't want to jump around between the 2 tracks that much, just in case we want to offer up other ideas on the card, because Saratoga's card next Saturday, September 5th, Derby Day, is also very good, and I feel like it might get a little bit confusing if we do all that stuff in just one video. It'll be insane. And then you'll have the casuals who just want to hear about the Kentucky Derby, not give a crap about the Woodward, which will probably be the race I'm more interested in. So that's it, guys. I hope you do well this Saturday. I wish you the best of luck. And remember, pay your bills first. As we know, the Derby's just around the corner. Good luck.